With the Jets season finally over, all the focus is going to be on that number 2 overall pick, but I wanted to look at 10 players that I really like that the Jets could target with the 23rd overall pick. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, the number 2 overall pick is going to get all the attention this offseason, and most fans have pretty much narrowed it down to Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Penei Sewell, or a trade down. So let's not talk about the number 2 overall pick right now. Let's talk about the 23rd overall pick, the pick that the Jets got in the Jamal Adams trade. This is the first of the 2 first-round picks that the Jets get over these next 2 years. Number 23 overall. Now let's discuss some of the players that I think could be available and directions that I would possibly look to go in with that pick. So starting out, what positions are we really looking at? Now, this is me not taking into account coaching schemes or free agent acquisitions, because all that stuff happens beforehand. So this is just kind of a rough outlook. Not to mention we didn't really get a full year. The whole COVID thing really screwed this up. So rankings are probably going to look drastically different across a bunch of different websites, as well as mine. Like some of these guys, I think they're going to be, right in that wheelhouse, but who knows? Maybe they go higher or later, depending on what happens with the combine and pro days and all that sort of stuff. It's a wacky year, so forgive me if I'm off on some of my stuff this year. All right, so position-wise, what am I looking at? I decided that I wanted to look at 5 different positions and give 2 names for each position here. So I'm looking at offensive line, wide receiver, running back, edge, and cornerback. Offensive line-wise, the Jets have definitely taken a nice step in the right direction. They signed Connor McGovern, who was a top 10 overall center just 2 years ago. They draft Mekhi Becton at 11 overall, who looks like an absolute freak. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be a staple on that offensive line for a long time. So some of the offensive linemen that I'm looking at here, WYATT-DAVIS, the right guard from Ohio State, is someone that I am really high on. It's someone that I did not think the Jets would be in position to get because I thought he would go somewhere in the mid to late teens. But it sounds like since the Jets got the pick from Seattle and they're no longer going to be picking towards the back half of the 20s, WYATT-DAVIS could potentially be an option. He's one of the top interior offensive linemen in this class. He is 6'4", 310 pounds. Draft Tech ranks him number 19 overall on their big board. His Pro Football Focus grades over the last 3 seasons, 60.8, 82.6, and 67.3. Now, that grade dropped a little bit this year because obviously they didn't have as many games, so not as many to kind of rank him on. I think he's going to be a very, very dominant guard in this league. He's the grandson of Hall of Famer Willie Davis, defensive end. He excels in the run game. He's a true mauler on the offensive line, and he is a plug-and-play starter from day one. So the Jets on their guard positions, I really want them to go after Joe Thuney, but I think interior offensive line has really been where the Jets have been struggling. So if they can't get Thuney, if he winds up getting franchised, or if maybe Sheriff doesn't work out either, this is a really nice option. We have Van Roten right now, and we got Elflein from the Vikings. So I think if you could swap either one of those 2 guys out with WYATT-DAVIS, I think the Jet fans would be really happy. And whoever our quarterback is, whether it's Sam or a new quarterback, is going to be very happy behind that offensive line. Now, the next offensive lineman that I'm looking at is Creed Humphrey, the center or guard from Oklahoma. He's 6'5", 316 pounds. Draft Tech ranks him number 38 overall on their big board. And the Jets, this year for center was a really weird season for me because we just signed Connor McGovern, and I really like the signing. I think it's a smart move, but he didn't perform well this season. Toward the back half of the year, he definitely performed better. So I'm hoping in a new offensive scheme, he's really the center that we want to use for the next few seasons. But we still need interior offensive line help. So McGovern can play guard, he can play center. Creed Humphrey can play guard, can play center. So they can both flip-flop back and forth, and you just play whoever's better at that point. Now, like I said, he was ranked 38th overall on Draft Tech's overall big board. His Pro Football Focus grades 78.9, 67.3, and 80.3. He is absolutely known for his leadership. He makes all the calls on the offensive line, so he's calling out who the linebackers are, who could be coming in on pressure, and he's making signals all up and down the offensive line. He has great body control, and he is he kind of... So the great body control, he actually attributes to being a wrestler. So he knows how to manipulate and contort his body in ways that helps him move, slide, that sort of thing. I don't know. I guess if that's what he pins it on, I'm all for it. They say he has a well-developed body, well-developed lower body. So he's very good at sliding. This is a pick I would like to make because worst case scenario, you get a guard. And like best case scenario, you get a guy who knows how to make calls at the offensive line, like on the offensive line. Like Nick Mangold always used to be our like quarterback of the O-line. And I think we've been missing that since he's been gone. So this would be a nice area for me to go. Now, one con for his game, he's a left-handed center. So if you're a right-handed quarterback, like 99% of the quarterbacks are in this league, shotgun snaps are going to be a little weird at first. It's spinning a different way. It's like toilets. They flush the weird way. I don't know. Creed Humphrey, one of my top guys that I would like to get in the top part of this draft. The next position I want to talk about is the wide receiver position, and the Jets are in an interesting spot because, again, I want them to go the free agent route. I like Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, Kenny Golladay, Chris Godwin. Like, there's a lot of really good names that are going to be available in free agency, and the Jets have the most money. So, for me, wide receiver is an option I would like to handle in free agency. But the Jets need weapons. We have Jamison Crowder going into the last year of his deal. Denzel Mims going into the second year of his career. So we're going to need another body in there. And Rashad Perriman kind of was not what we had hoped. And we obviously were missing Robbie Anderson. We didn't have the deep threat or the connection with the deep threats that we would have liked. So there's a few receivers we can look at here. The first one on my list is Rashad Bateman. He's 6'1", 210 pounds out of Minnesota. And Draft Tech has him ranked 22 overall on their board. So, bam, right in the wheelhouse for the 23rd overall pick. Pro Football Focus has him ranked 69.5, 87.1, and 81.1 over the last 3 years. He is a legit number one wide receiver. He did a lot of in-breaking routes from the slot, but has the ability to move out to the outside. He's a deep threat, not as fast as Robbie or Perriman, but I think he's going to be able to separate just fine. With that in mind, I want to look at Chris Olave, the wide receiver from Ohio State. This is, obviously, if we get Justin Fields at number 2, Olave could look pretty attractive with either this pick or maybe the second-round pick. He's 6 foot tall, 185 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the 47th player on their big board. I do expect him to raise higher in the draft. I think he's going to test really well. He's really fast. Pro Football Focus has him ranked as a 70.9, 85.1, and an 82.4 over the last few years. Again, not a big sample size for this season because of COVID. He has elite speed and great ball tracking ability. If you watched the Sugar Bowl the other day with Fields throwing 6 touchdowns, Olave is absolutely his safety blanket, and the guys just have a connection. I don't know what it is, just bomb after bomb after bomb, always there to catch. You saw how much Fields struggled when you didn't have him in the Northwestern game the game before. So very, very interesting there. That's a player that I would like to see target, but again, wide receiver for me is an area I would like to target in free agency more than the draft. I'd like to offset the money sort of thing. So like if you have an expensive free agent and a Denzel Mims on a cheap contract, when expensive free agent comes to the end of their contract, you can now pay Mims. Now, if you have a first-round wide receiver and a second-round wide receiver, you're going to wind up linking up with weird contracts at some point. So, I don't know. You could go this route. I'm not particularly fond of it, but those are 2 names you could definitely look at there. Another route that the Jets are going to be looking at, and that's really sneaking up on us quickly as a draft need, is going to be the running back position. Now, I think 23 is a little bit early for me. We spent our, 4th round pick on P. Ryan last year. I don't think he's a full-time running back. He seems to be more of a third down back. I like Ty Johnson, but again, I would like him as maybe the third option. With Frank Gore, hopefully not coming back. I'm done with the old guy speed there. Let's get a guy that can pound the rock and, just freshen up the legs. We don't need a 37-year-old guy. So some running backs that you could look at. Again, 23 is a little high for me. I don't love going this high for a running back. I think you can find some really nice ones in the 2nd and 3rd round, particularly Kenny Gainwell. He's someone from Memphis that I would keep an eye out. But regardless, running backs here. We're talking Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama, 6'2", 230 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the 35th player on their big board. His Pro Football Focus rankings over the last few years, 90.6, 88.1, 89.6. He is a powerful runner, runs forward, but he is not just a power runner. He's got a little bit of finesse to his game. He's definitely more of a downhill runner, but he can jump over huge corners and safeties like we saw in the college football semifinal. So that was really cool. I like that. He creates mismatches in the passing game due to his size. Like, think Derrick Henry, but not quite as fast. He's a little more flat-footed than Henry is, but he's a really, really good running back. Now, I would say the con to his game is that he doesn't have a second gear. He's definitely not as fast, but he will definitely kind of grind down the game. Think of like, I don't want to say Sean Green, but think about like how we sort of abuse the defensive side of the ball with just pounding the rock over and over and over again. And by the time you get to the third, fourth quarter, they're kind of gassed out. This is what this guy is going to flourish in. He's going to flourish in the late part of games. Now, the other running back that a lot of us were talking about at the beginning of the year, Travis Etienne, the running back from Clemson, obviously standing next to Trevor Lawrence, the guy that we won't have now. But whatever, let's talk about him. 5'10", 210 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the 27th overall player on their big board. His Pro Football Focus grades over the last 3 years, 90.1, 90.5, and 82. Everything's blending together. He is the all-time leader for rushing in the ACC. He creates mismatch nightmares all over the field. So if you're running out and you're a linebacker on him, good luck catching him because he is shifty. The wheel routes with Trevor Lawrence were always very impressive. I think he is someone that could definitely play a factor in that passing game for us. I would say weakness-wise, could use a little help on his pass protection. Like, that would be the one area. You don't want to get your quarterback having his head taken off. Now, running back, like I said again, don't love it this early in the draft. I think the fifth-year option is so valuable for certain positions like edge, cornerback, tackle, those sorts of roles, that if you use it on a running back, you're going to be paying a lot of money in that fifth year. And not to mention, you can kind of just burn one into the ground on a 4-year contract for like the third and fourth round. So I don't love it this early, but if you did want to go with a running back, Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, two really, really attractive options at this point in the draft. Next up, we're talking edge rusher, and the Jets have had a tough go about it with the edge rushing department. We haven't had a true edge rusher since John Abraham back in 2005. Like, we're going on 15 years. The Jets need to create pressure, and I really think our secondary is going to look a lot better in just getting pressure on the quarterback. You get pressure on the quarterback, the secondary is going to perform better. There's less time for the quarterback to throw the ball, which means receivers are not getting open quite as fast, or not going to have quite as long to get open. So edge rusher is definitely a need. Now, we have Quinnen Williams on the interior part of our defense, but we still need that edge rusher on the outside. And Jordan Jenkins, while he had 8 sacks, was it a year ago? He really didn't perform that great this year. So, again, we are looking at edge rusher. There's a few guys in free agency that I would like to target, but it's going to be a little bit harder there. I think I'm looking more of a veteran presence in free agency, and then maybe hopefully solve our edge rushing woes here at pick number 23. Now, the first player I'm going to pull up is KWITY-PAYE, the D-end from Michigan. He's 6'4", 277 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the number 18 player on their big board. His Pro Football Focus grades over the last 3 years, 71.1, 80.9, and 86.3. His stock may change sort of depending on how Gregory Rousseau is handled by scouts, because he opted out this year. He was the projected number 1 overall. Maybe not number 1 overall, but like the edge number 1 coming out of Miami. So depending on how teams feel about him, you could actually see Rousseau fall a little bit further. This may be a little bit of a reach for Paye, because I could see him going definitely in the early teens. He is a hand-in-the-dirt type of defensive end. He uses power moves, and he uses power moves more than finesse moves. I would say he is a home run in terms of intangibles. His teammates rave about him. His coaches rave about him. And it seems like the kind of guy you want to have in your building. So this, to me, feels very much like a Joe Douglas type of draft player. High upside, big size frame. I would like this. I would be a fan of this move. Now, in the event Paye is not there, you could look at Carlos Basham, the edge from Wake Forest. He's 6'5", 275 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the 28th player on their big board. His Pro Football Focus rankings over the last few years, 80.4, 86.8, 71.1. Now, in 31 career games, he has 33.5 tackles for a loss and 19.5 sacks. I love it. I just want someone who can get after the passer, cause some havoc in the backfield, and really, really, really put the pressure on on their wide receivers, so that way our cornerbacks can hopefully jump some routes, get some interceptions. We need turnovers. Turnovers just win games, and these two guys can generate the sacks, can generate the fumbles, can generate the pressure that'll create interceptions, and that's what I really like. And the last position I want to talk about is a position the Jets have sort of struggled with since they lost Darrelle Revis, Antonio Cromartie, all those kind of guys. And that's the cornerback position. And right now we're sitting with really, I would say, one starter in Bryce Hall. Hopefully we retain Brian Poole to be our slot cornerback. I don't trust Blessed Austin to be a number one corner or even a number two corner. I would say at best I want him being like the third or fourth guy in the rotation there. So cornerback's going to be a need. In terms of free agency, there's a few guys you could look at. Ronald Darby's a guy that has connections to Joe Douglas that I would keep an eye out for. He's with Washington right now. But in terms of overall corner production in the free agent market, I think this is an area that I would like to address in the draft. So, with that being said, I'm looking at two guys that have ties to the NFL from former Pro Bowl players. Asante Samuel Jr. You may recognize that name because Asante Samuel Sr. was on the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jr., 5'10", 184 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the 24th best player on their big board. His Pro Football Focus grades over the last 3 years, 73.3, 76.9, 81.8. He is the son of four-time Pro Bowler, Asante Samuel, like I said before. Lockdown man corner, can play all over the field. He has played in the slot. He has played on the outside. I think he could definitely track a man around the field, or you could just, create mismatches with him. I like him a lot. I actually had him going to us in the third, and as the season kind of progressed and people started talking more and more, his draft stock shot up. So I could see this being a realistic possibility here. I could even see, you know what? I love having guys that have the NFL sort of pedigree. I think that from a young age, they know exactly how to train, they know how to eat, they know how to maintain their bodies. That sort of stuff excites me. The next player in the cornerback spot that I think the Jets could look at is JAYCEE Horn, and that is the South Carolina cornerback. He is son of former four-time Pro Bowler Joe Horn, wide receiver from the New Orleans Saints. He is 6'1", 205 pounds. Draft Tech has him ranked as the number 16 player on their big board. His Pro Football Focus grades over the last few years, 73.4, 69.0, and 78.4. He is absolutely a starting caliber corner. He's more of a zone corner than Asante Samuel. So if you think Asante Samuel is the man guy, think of JAYCEE Horn as the zone coverage guy. I would really like this move. The guy plays big. At 6'1", he's going to be able to have a huge wingspan from side to side. So this is a nice sized cornerback here, one that can really beat up on some number one wide receivers. He does need to get a little bit stronger as a tackler. He had a few missed tackles, so you might want to keep an eye on that. But guys, those are my 5 positions that I'm really looking at. Let me know if those are the 5 positions you would like to possibly target at that point in the draft. Are there players that you really like? Are there players that I've listed that are way better or way worse that I put on here that I'm just totally off base on? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And as always, go Jets.